I wouldn't be surprised to see that being banned coming into the series. But if it does get through the bans, if we start to see it first picks, how do these teams draft around that? How do you go into a Blackfeather and stop it just destroying teams like it has?
I mean, mostly you have to shut it down early game. Both in lane and in jungle, it can be shut down and can be abused for the first 6 levels. After he gets his 6th level, he gets his Rose Offensive, he picks up a tier 3 item, it becomes a lot harder. So if they do give it over, something like a Rhyme can do great against it because it can get ahead early on and try to snowball.
Well, we said that you got to respect the Kvalifar Blackfeather and the I'm the Doom Rhyme. How's that for respect? Both teams taking those picks away from each other. This is already going to be shaping up to be a really interesting draft.
It certainly will be. I'm curious to see what these next bans are going to lean towards. Obviously, Lyra already taken off the board. Would not be at all surprised to see more captains removed. That's been a theme across the course of today, especially things like Arden.
Yeah, definitely the captains are going to be the focus here in the next couple of bans and couple of picks. Arden, Catherine, if both of these are removed, we might actually see Churn Walker finally in Europe, just because Catherine would or Lance would not be the best pick against Blackfeather. However, it does come through the Arden, and they pick it up on the side of Mouz Sports.
I'm starting to lose hope on the Churn Walker in Europe. We've seen it a little bit in North America, but these European teams do not seem to have faith in that pick just yet. We'll see if that comes out later in the season. But Arden going to be locked in for Mouz Sports, and that's answered with a Kestrel.
Yeah, Kestrel, obviously, again, just one of those picks that's always a solid choice, but a Finn going to be the selection here for SK Gaming. This is an interesting one. We saw a Finn earlier today. It did pretty well for G2 up until the very end when they weren't able to secure the game.
They were winning until they lost.
Yeah, right up until they lost, they were winning the game. But the Finn pick with a Blackfeather there, I mean, Blackfeather can avoid a lot of this trouble. You know, one of the big combos is that Finn hook into an active camo or into a Quibble immediately. You could even pair it with the Rhyme and have the Valkyrie on top of it. But Blackfeather, if he even does get hooked in, can immediately Rose Offensive out and avoid that massive combo. And a Petal gonna come through as well just to continue to try and stay at that range. So this looks like Mouz Sports gonna be trying to just skirt around the spin and not allow Hegman to have much of an impact.
It's starting to feel like this Rhyme, CP Rhyme versus CP Blackfeather in the jungle is becoming kind of a signature jungle matchup where both can win, but it goes both ways.
It definitely is a skill matchup. The only difference is that Rhyme is stronger earlier on, but Blackfeather, once he picks up a few crystal bits, especially if he gets 4 crystal bits early on, he can start last hitting over Rhyme with his on point. So it's a matter of a skill matchup indeed.
Yeah, well, it is also the question of, is it going to be the CP Blackfeather in the jungle? Or are they going to put this Petal as a Crystal Power Petal in the jungle? We've seen Petal being run both ways in North America and Europe, so they have that question that needs to be answered that they really won't know. Even once you see that, usually you could say, okay, once we're on the loading screen, we know what it's going to be. You don't even know that with Mouz Sports, because if it's Leon or I'm the Doom on either one of those, you still don't know where it's going to end up.
Very, very true. But I would prefer to see the CP Blackfeather and the Weapon Power Petal just so that they can keep their range. CP Petal doesn't work good, especially against Finn later on because of all the AoE damage that comes through. And as a Blackfeather, you don't want to dive into Rhyme.
Absolutely. It's time to get on into our final here. We're going to be jumping into SK Gaming against Mouz Sports. Let us know who you are supporting on Twitter using hashtag Vainglory8. Don't forget, North America will be starting after these finals at 2 PM PST. It's time to pass it over once again to Medic and Excoundrel to kick off our finals.
Thank you very much, Munch. We are jumping straight on into the first game of this finals, and SK looking to continue their 3-week undefeated spree. Can they make it 4? Well, just a tiny mouse stands in their way. Mouz Sports trying to fight up against the reigning champs, and they're going to do it with this Rhyme Kestrel Finn composition.
I actually think that given the draft, I would favor SK. We've seen what Kvalifar, what Tyra's on a CP Blackfeather can do against the likes of a Rhyme. You know, he can't really get into range of him. We know that Leon's unlikely as a weapon power Kestrel to invest in a heavy amount of defense early on. So definitely think Tyra's can do his thing on this CP Blackfeather again. And also, you know, as soon as Leon reveals himself, as soon as he tries to go aggressive, Kvalifar can find those massive extended range basic attacks and then look to blow Leon up. So if you're not scared of the CP damage that you're going to receive from Tyra's on the CP Blackfeather, you're going to be darn scared of that heavy crit build damage coming out of Kvalifar on this Petal.
We did see the Elder Treant go over to Mouz, so they have a slight advantage early on. It's only about 100, 200 gold, but it's something to start you off. We'll see if SK can push this wave into the turret, but with Just Man there, he should be able to hold it for long enough that his carries will get there in time, and the advantage will stick for Mouz Sports, although, as I said, not the most monumental benefit for them. As we get into sort of the the early game and the skirmishing portion, is there a team that you'd give the early game skirmishes to? Is there a team that you think just plays stronger than the other?
I definitely think you don't want to fight as SK early on. Weapon Power Petal isn't exactly the strongest until she hits certain item spikes. I'm talking about like the Sora Blade Tornado Trigger item spikes. Tyra really does want to get level 8 to play that extended range on point style of play that we know CP Blackfeather does to play. Excuse me. And obviously, we know that Rhyme is very, very powerful in the early game. Especially if you get into melee duels this early on, he can, with high base damages, kind of out-duel you. And Leon will hit very hard with this Weapon Power Kestrel, even without the critical strike stuff. So, yeah, I think SK probably looking to avoid early game fights at least until level 8 on Tyrus.
Let's see if they can get there. At the moment, it looks like they can, as Mouz Sports are playing pretty passively. Minion Candy was used on some of this lane by SK, but not really going to do too much. Just forces it in towards Leon, trying to deny him as much as they can. But Leon's pretty good at farming, as his multiple accounts in Vainglorious Gold attest to, so he should be fine getting forced in here by SK. Mouz Sports, of course, kind of sitting middle of the pack. Leon only joining them this week to really try and bolster their chances, to really try and win some medals with them, and this will be an opportunity for Leon really to show us that he deserves to play amongst the big boys, to challenge at this sort of higher level, because we've always known he's been a good competitor. He's never really proven that he deserves to be at the highest level of professional play, and now he's been caught out slightly. Good quibble from Justman will catch out Hegman and Tyrus and force SK back.
Yeah, I think what a story it would be for Leon, who it's kind of always been known as, wait a second, I think be a bit careful here.
Yeah, Hegman does pop the healing flask and will be okay. It's a 2v3 in favor of Mouz, and actually if you look down, you can see Arm the Doom just taking away as much of the jungle of SK as possible. He does have a 6 CS lead over Tyrus at the moment, and he'll be able to get away at least 2 of these backs, so that's pushing this CP Blackfeather as far behind as possible on this Rhyme.
Yeah, again, it's kind of what we expected. Iron Doom did the similar kind of deal against Dark Potato. He's continuing that ordeal this time round. Kavalafar forced to pop the healing flask, but we'll be able to get the regeneration from the Iron Guard contract. You can see it's been a pretty stale game just early so far. Obviously, Iron Doom's taken some small advantages for Mouz Sports, but otherwise, SK have played pretty carefully here. Item spikes are going to start to open up. You can see Leon's picked up the Sora Blade. Kavalafar not completed the Sora Blade, but he's also picked up a Swift Shooter and a Minion's Foot just to put himself towards that Tornado Trigger. But yeah, I mean, I think I want to go back to what you were saying about Leon. And what a story, Medic, it would be for him finally to join a team where he has found success in the first week that he joins this Mouz Sports roster, and they potentially could win the European DG8. That would be a great story for Leon, who has never, like you said, proven himself on the big stage. He talks a big game, he's got great solo queue records, he's kind of known as the best player in the world in some ways, even by his own standards, but has never proven himself in the competitive setting, and this could be his opportunity to do so.
Good secure there from Justman on the healing treant, so he'll be able to get that for himself, and it continues just to push this gold lead. You know, you're about 900 ahead if you're Mouz Sports at the moment. You're in a very comfortable position. You continually forcing Kavalafar back, Hegman there at the front line, Tyra's there towards the side as well, but SK are the team that are on the back foot early on in this game as the glimmers come out from Leon, and that turret is down to half HP.
Yeah, again, you know, you can see why SK probably don't want to fight in this early game. You can see the damage output from Leon. You can see how Kavalafar is struggling without those item spikes. And one shot, one kill gets the snipe! Oh,
Tyra's
disaster
to the side of that, and that's a turret as well. Killing a turret for Mouz. They are looking very strong early on.
It might not seem like much, but that one shot, one kill thread, Tyra's did not block it. It means that Kavalafar goes down and the first turret goes down as well. That opens up the field of play. They are going to do what they were doing in the previous game. Focus that Crystal Sentry goes down in an instant. And you know that Mouz are going to look to pressure this Crystal Sentry to limit that safe haven of their own jungle for a later game scaling composition like SK. So yeah, I mean, this is very, very good start for Mouse Sports. What a way to come out against the reigning champions, SK Gaming. Mouse Sports off to a blinding start.
But what a bit of poor communication as well from SK, because that's such an easy block for Tyrus. It just stands in front of Cavalifar, and Cavalifar is, you know, safe. Tyrus was basically full HP. You should block that sort of thing, and you wonder if SK, I mean, they looked bad. Well, they didn't look bad, but they looked a little bit weak against Dynasty in the first series of this week. They lost the first game there. Then yesterday we saw them lose the first game as well. There are challenges for SK in certain situations. Actually, I think they just fell behind in the first game yesterday. I'm not sure they actually lost. Oh no, they did. They lost against.
We didn't see them play yesterday. They played Dynasty.
That was today.
And they lost.
Yeah, sorry, they lost against Fnatic today.
Yeah, so obviously we've seen weaknesses in SK's play. Leon has been super aggressive here. I think he's been a real standout in the lane, forcing Cavalifar, who gets dragged in.
Great force accord onto Cavalifar, pulls him in. Heggman puts down the gauntlet as well to try and fight off against this mouse bot. But once again, they're threaded. One shot, one kill straight towards Cavalifar. He is healing back up, but Mouse Sports seem to just have SK's number at the moment.
Yeah, they are pushing their advantages. They are forcing the fight. They're going to go into the jungle. Tyrus does steal that away with an on-point, so he secures his own jungle Treon. Doom's going to step up, though.
Okay, for the time being, there's the Winter Spire. Justman perhaps a little bit overextended his. Cavalifar can get a lot of damage down. Has got that Solar Blade on the Petal. Heggman continues in for the chase. Shatterglass on Tyrus as well. I'm the Doom has a shatter of his own. So now it's up to SK to try and push this lane back, perhaps get some turret damage of their own.
Yeah, I don't think they'll push too heavily because they know that moving into a teamfight situation with Mouse would be a bad option for them. Tyra is not at level 8, doesn't have the extended range of the on-point, so they're not going to commit too hard to the turret. They're back off, but what a great opening from Mouse Sports. They picked up another item spike for Leon. He's got a Tyrant's monocle working towards a Tornado trigger, and Cavalifar not even yet on the board with his own first tier 3 critical strike item. So massive advantages opening up. Almost 15 CS in the lead for Leon as well as a pretty decent CS lead for I'm the Doom. Just looks like they are outplaying SK on every front right now, Mouse Sports.
Infusions from Mouse Sports as well, using this gold lead that they have. They got Infusion on I'm the Doom, that's a level 9 and level 8 on Leon as well. So they are looking for fights. They're looking for a bit of a Barney if they can catch it, and they're looking to catch out Heggman as well. Tyrus gets pulled in, Cavalifar there off towards the side. He's hovering around the side of the fight, but a good block on that Force Accord will keep Justman from landing it. And Mouse Sports still not quite able to find the inroads that they would like. There is a gold miner there if they want it fully stacked up as well, but instead they say, we want this Crystal Sentry. We want to deny as much of your jungle as we can away from you. Only one life remaining for that Crystal Sentry.
Going to head towards the gold miner now. I wonder whether they're going to start it. They've definitely got a quick gold mine taking team. They answer my question with a very quick start on it. I don't know if SK will be able to try and take this one away. They go for a lucky on-point steal, but that is not enough. Justman did a great job of zoning there. And without that Crucible finish for Heggman, you have to respect that forced accord potential from Justman. And I think they are very, very careful about how they approach Finn. Heggman has now finished that Crucible, and well, a crucial item against the Finn specifically. SK might feel a bit more comfortable being aggressive in their positioning.
Tornado trigger for Cavalifar as well, so he has started to get some crit up. Heggman caught out with the Winter Spire. Justman just standing off towards the side. It's flared out here, so up to Cavalifar to start to put some damage down before the fight really starts. Infusion picked up on Tyrus as well, trying to answer the infusions coming out from Mouse. But still, Mouse willing just to stand off towards the side here, willing just to get some damage down. The Force Accord misses, and that must be the disengaged signal for Mouse, because they know they don't have that big engaged tool on towards SK. The jump forward from Tyrus trying to get onto Leon. There's the gauntlet as well. Leon dodging off towards the side. Crystal Sentry joins. There's the kill. And now I'm the Doom's the new target. Good double stun with the quibble. But I'm the Doom. Can he do enough to fight off SK's oncoming hordes? The fortified health is not enough to stun onto Cavalifar. Justman will get a kill of his own as she goes over to I'm the Doom posthumously, and eventually the triple kill will come out for Tyrus on that Black Feather.
Oh, this is the point. Black Feather working towards his second item. He's post level 8 now. He's going to hit very hard, and he's one of the best carries in the game. Sticking to a Kestra with that Rose Offensive, able to work your way through those active camo traps as well. Leon will spawn in time to defend this first tier turret. He does have a lot of critical strike in tow, so he's able to clear those minions pretty quickly. So SK get a ace, but they don't manage to get anything from that ace apart from just getting a bit of comeback gold in their pockets. But Really, really good team fight there. Cavalifar also keeping himself on the outside of the fight, trying to find the opportunities to land those basic attacks with the trampoline. And a really nicely placed gauntlet as well. Hegman put Leon on the back foot instantaneously, allowing Tyrus to capitalize and move forward aggressively with that road defensive.
Still a 4,000 gold lead. The hook will land on towards Tyrus. Hegman there in the front line. Look how much damage he takes. He's gone already. And Cavalifar now going to be the new target here for Mouz. It's all up to Tyrus to try and take down 3 members of Mouz, but he's stunned up with a quibble. And it's a clean ace and a shutdown for Mouz.
Yeah, it's a massive team fight spike for Finn, specifically when you hit level 8, because you get that ability to land Quibble and it's going to stun. And obviously against the Black Feather, if you time it correctly, it shuts him right down, can't generate the shield with the on point, can't find those executes with his Feint of Heart, and that was a really nice move by Mouse Sports. They just hit a spike on Leon. He did a lot of damage to Hegman, who traditionally would want to go for a metal jacket pretty early on into his build path to be able to face tank and body block a lot of these glimmer shots coming out from Leon, because he needs the fountain, he needs the crucible. It's been heavily delayed, and then he's made the decision to go for an aggressive build of having the Echo to be able to limit the mobility of this team. I think not too bad, but you need to have the Echo to make it worth it. So avoiding team fights now, I think, for SK until that breakpoint is achieved.
You look at it, we're 12 minutes in, Leon already at 3 completed weapon power or Chris items and the Aegis. He's sitting in such a pretty position. I'm the Doom with the Journey Boots, the Eve, and the Shatterglass as well. So if Mouz can force fights at this point, they are so far ahead of any member of SK. We've seen how much damage they can do to Cavalifar and to Tyrus if they catch them. Just need a good engage from the side, and the question is how you get that engage. You're down to that choke point turret. It's very difficult to actually siege onto that effectively. I'm just looking for the Force Accords to land, and for Just Man to perhaps get an Echo of his own to be able to get that double Force Accord out against SK.
Yeah, I also really like what Leon's done with his build. He's gone for the Aegis, so he's able to just block up a lot of that damage coming up from Tyrus. Just Man moves in.
Polite company. Quibble comes out, stun onto Hegman. Cavalifar down to half already. I'm Doom with the chase. There's the gauntlet's going to land as well. Cavalifar chasing out towards the side, but there's the Force Accord. Pulls him in. A great stun onto Hegman as well, and he's going to go down. Mouse with a superb engage. Now look for the turret. Just Man very happy to tank this one up as Tyrus chase all the way off to the side. Eventually Leon will take the turret, and that is the choke point broken for Mouse as they continue to push towards a win in this game.
Yeah, War Tread's prioritized to get, again, and the Doom. Oh, they get the ace as well as Tyrus oversteps. Cavalifar was not respawning in time. What can they do with this? They can clean up the back jungle. They can set up for a Golf Miner if they want. Mouse Sports thoroughly in control. A massive gold lead in their favor. Huge item spikes over their opponents. Again, Journey Boots prioritized by I'm the Doom. I love it when Rhymes prioritize mobility, and I like it when the captain supplements that with the War Treads. It's exactly what Mouse Sports have done here. They're able to just rush down Cavalifar. Even with that trampoline, they're able to keep on top of him as well. So really good position right now for Mouse Sports. I think they're pretty much favored to win this game from this point onwards, but Hegman has just hit that Echo breakpoint. He has the ability to cast double Gauntlet now, Medic. That could be enough to allow Tyrus and Cavalifar the position and space needed.
There's an Echo for Just Man as well, though, so I'm expecting some pretty strong double Force Accords coming out in these next fights. Even double Quibble can be incredibly effective if you can land those stuns. Then we'll get an immense gold payout from the Gold Miner. Mouse Sports with a 10,000 gold lead at the 15-minute marker, looking for the engagement to Cavalifar, who'll trampoline away. Chased down by those little alien munions, and here comes the engage. The gauntlet hits. There's the Quibble on towards Hegman, though. Here's Tyrus jumping in from the side. Leon's still alive, though, and Cavalifar's the new target for Mouse. Look at the damage coming out. Cavalifar puts a lot down of his own, though. The trampoline, the Force Accord comes out. Cavalifar will get slammed in the face with that Quibble, and Mouse Sports can chase Hegman if they wish. Now take the healing tree, and I'm the Doom with the heals. The Winter Spire try to slow that Vanguard down, but Hegman's just trying to delay as much as possible here. If he can wait another 8 seconds, the respawn is up for Tyrus. Dodging back, 4 seconds is all he needs for that ace buff to not come through, and he will be able to secure it. There's Hegman, will eventually go down. You have to think to I'm the Doom, and Just Man, the Quibble lands. 1 shot, 1 kill, doesn't quite connect. He dodges out to the side with the blood for blood, but eventually he falls. Tyrus and Cavalifar have respawned.
But they've staggered the death timers now for SK Gaming. This should be a pretty easy Kraken startup and take now for Mouz, because there isn't going to be a full 3v3 because Hegman spent so long before he died, and Leon should be able to join and shred this one. You do have to respect an on-point steal from Tyrus though, and it looks like positionally Mouz are going to do that.
There they are, started up this Kraken. It's up to Cavalify and Tyrus to try and get it. The flight company isn't going to land there from Justman, but the Kraken has not completely reset, so Mouz will be able to turn back around towards it. Tyrus is dead. Leon showing why he's the best player in the world right there. Or at least self-proclaimed best player in the world. The Kraken falls, and now Mouz Sports should be able to close out this game. Once again, those death timers staggered as Tyrus is in the sin bin, and Cavalify and Hegman have to try and two-man defend.
Yeah, tough spot for SK Gaming. You just feel like Mouz have been in control from the get-go here. Ever since that laning phase, Leon punishing Cavalify with those glimmer shots. Mouz have gripped hard early on, and honestly, I'm the Doom has been super impressive in the jungle. The amount of resources that he steals from his enemy jungler, and the way that their Mouz are able to use those breakpoints of item spike to capitalize, but Hegman goes in.
Gauntlet in, Tyrus there dodging around, trying to get onto Leon on the backline. Cavalify's chasing in as well, and they do kill the Kestrel. The Force Accord will bring them back to block on the Quibble. They're looking for I'm the Doom as well. He's down to about half, but that fortified health is doing a lot of work. He gets the kill on towards Cavalify. They're looking for the next. Can they kill these members of SK? Yes, they can is the answer. The Kraken's going to help them out with these turrets. Hegman chased off towards the side, and Mouz should be able to get these final crystal turrets down with the two-man squad of I'm the Doom and Justman. Hegman doing what he can, but it's not going to be enough. Mouz Sports will take a 1-0 lead versus the defending champions of SK.
Fantastic game from Mouz, and you saw in that last fight, Hegman, I mean, they had a great strategy to deal with Leon, but they jumped Petal right into the midst of Rhyme, and I mean, you're just going to get destroyed as a Petal regardless. Cavalify didn't even get to his full weapon power item build, and Leon drew so much attention that I'm the Doom was just able to run away with things in these fights. You know, he had a very solid item build for sustain. He was very mobility focused as well. I think, you know, they had a really good game plan, and post level 8, yes, while Tyrus got that extended on range on point, he never found opportunities to use it, because obviously Mouz Spots were looking for constant engages. They were being super aggressive, war treadsing in, speeding I'm the Doom in with those journey boots. I think, you know, SK were never able to use that range advantage that they had, so just an unfortunate position. And post level 8 for Finn as well, the Quibble really shut down Tyrus in a lot of situations. Really well-timed Quibbles from Justman Medic. It was a good game.
Yeah, great stuff all round from Mouz Sports. They take a 1-0 lead over SK. We're going to hand it over to Munch and our analysts to break down that game and see perhaps if an upset is on the cards here for Mouz.
It may well be. You might be right on that one. Mouz Sports now 1-0 up against SK Gaming, and a fairly convincing victory at that as well. 14-5 final score. And, you know, SK, they got off to a good start, but they lost control of the game. And once they had, they never got a chance of getting it back.
Yeah, and it was, like Xcouter was saying, a really well-played game by Mouz to just know that they were at a range disadvantage. They needed to be engaging on their opponents, and that's exactly what they did constantly. Always rushing forward, always pushing forward and trying to make the engagements happen, and it worked out for them.
And you have to talk about the Rhyme coming on to I'm the Doom. We just spoke about it last series against G2 with Mouz Sports. We said that I'm the Doom, you have to respect this pick for him just because he's doing really well on it. He's managing to find advantages and getting his team ahead early on, no matter who he's been going up against. And even though Tyrus was trying to last hit very well, it ended up not being enough.
It certainly wasn't. Let's take a look at how the game started, because SK did kick things off correctly. They managed to get the first ace of the game around 10 minutes.
Yeah, very early fight in the grand scheme of things here. Obviously, you see, you know, not really much in terms of team fighting had happened previously, but a great play by Tyrus, just diving onto the backline, getting onto Leon, and again, Cavalify, this is one of the few times he was able to stay safe, stay underneath the turret, and not get engaged on that heavily. The Rhyme just didn't have enough just yet in order to try and kill this Petal, and as a result of Leon going down early, it was SK able to take the team fight, and you felt like at that point they were going to be able to just start snowballing the game like they've done so many times.
Another big reason to why SK were able to win that team fight is the fact that Mouz Sports split up in the team fight. Kestrel went alone to the south of the map, a little bit away from Rhyme, away from Finn. And you have to remember, Rhyme is still incredibly immobile, especially before he gets his journey boost that players have been picking up. So players and teams need to play around the Rhyme better, and Rhyme needs to try and play around his team better. They didn't, and that's why they lost that team
That's
fight.
one of the things about this Rhyme pick. Whether he's on your team or against you, you have to play around that pick. Let's take a look at the next fight. It happened just a minute later on, and it went the exact opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, this time you could see that Just Man hooks in Blackfeather. Arden tries to Vanguard but ends up being stunned, and he gets on the front line, burst it down so quickly, especially because the TT and the Monaco were already completed for Kestrel. He doesn't even use his Fountain, and this time what I'm trying to say is that the difference being together and sticking together showing in a team fight for Mousesports.
At the same time, you have to recognize that's a Blackfeather that got hooked. Tires is going to be able to Rose offensive out of there. Hagman didn't actually have to go in. He could have just continued to back away with the rest of his team, and then either that fight doesn't happen or it happens on top of the Crystal Sentry. Maybe it ends up getting turned around that way, but because Hagman did try and go in to protect his Blackfeather, who had just gotten out of the fight, all of a sudden now he was on his own and isolated.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication, which is not something we're used to seeing from SK Gaming. The next fight was around 13 minutes into the game. It was very similar to the one we just watched.
Yeah, this is another one where they are able to just get the side of SK split. Kvalifar is entirely on his own. It was a beautiful gauntlet to try and delay the fight, but Kvalifar being unable to really get anything going in this team fight because of that early focus onto him and the team's ability to just push forward and take down the pedal.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I talked about Rhyme being able to get his team advantages early on is so important. That's because when you do that, your carry is able to get ahead of your opponents in terms of items, and that way you can have such a great team fighting presence because your carry is a lot stronger.
Not only that, but you're also, when you're playing more aggressively, when you're on the opponent's side of the map, your laner can then play more aggressively and more towards the opponent's side of the map. That's why all three of these fights are happening on the SK side of the map, because there was that ability for the Rhyme to play aggressive and not have to worry about it. That meant that then the Kestrel could play more aggressive and know that they had the support of their jungler to rotate up quickly. So Mousesports able to play this game on the SK side of the map.
This was the last team fight of the game. I remember correctly. They engage, our SK tried to engage on the Kestrel. They end up getting the kill, but the Finn and Rhyme synergy is one of the best in the game as a duo. They help one another so amazingly. The Finn fortified health coming from his polite company, and the Quibbles stunning and locking down opponents so that Rhyme can focus them down. It's incredible synergy that you can't take down easily, especially this late into the game when both of them are almost level 12, and that's how Mousesports were able to close out that team fight and finish the game afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mouz now 1-0 up in this series, and honestly a surprising result for most SK fans at home right now. They're not a team that has been bullied around here in Europe, and now they're against the ropes in this final. So if Mouz can repeat this performance, they've got a 2-0 final.
Yeah, to be fair though, for the fans of SK, they've lost one game in each of the finals thus far, so they are certainly not out of it by any stretch. However, Mousesports is, again, a team that is looking so strong. With Leon added to this roster, they're just able to make these plays happen, and SK, you got to be a little bit worried.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they're becoming one of my most favorite teams in Europe just because of how flexible, how enjoyable they are to watch. They bring a lot of excitement, a lot of diversity, and make a lot of plays work, especially with how aggressive they're playing.
Honestly, like personally, I don't necessarily mind who wins the whole league. I just want it to be competitive, and Mousesports are absolutely bringing that right now with SK Gaming against the ropes. Kestrel going to be the first ban, and Mousesports deciding potentially at a Blackfeather ban. It's basically been winning every single game it's played, and Mousesports seem to agree on that one.
Yeah.
This does leave both Rhyme and Cruel open. Yeah, they go for the Cruel pick.
Yeah, Kroll obviously has been another one of those picks that when it's not banned, it pretty much always gets taken. Tyra is going to be almost certainly using that for himself, although we have seen a Captain Kroll before, so don't completely write it off just yet. Mousesports, I would still expect them to put a focus on this Rhyme, because if they don't, it's likely to get banned away from them.
Yeah, I would like to see them pick it up here. Also because the Rhyme into the Cruel matchup is not the worst. You can still last hit over him if you try to invade. Instead, they go for the Graze. They did ban it the game before, so they're trying to put a lot of priority on it.
Yeah, after that first Grace game we saw earlier today, all of a sudden a lot of these teams have been like banning it or now picking it. even without having that Black Feather to pair with it. This makes me feel like Mouse Sports is going to be looking for an Idris, because you want someone that has that hard dive to be able to pair with the Grace so that you have that synergy. And Idris is the one that was, notoriously well paired with a Grace going back to a previous split. But it'll be interesting to see if that's where they decide to go, because it's kind of showing their hand a little bit early, because when that Grace comes through first pick, you know that they want Black Feather Idris or something along those lines. So now SK can prepare the rest of their draft around it, but it is going to be the Rhyme picked up here for Mouse Sports anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see as I said, I really like that Rhyme pick because it works well against Cruel. It's another skill matchup, this time a little bit in favor of Cruel in the dueling part, but in favor of Rhyme in the last hitting department. So Mouse Sports and Doom can definitely make plays happen from it. And as we said, Doom been performing really well on it. The Vox ban is a little bit surprising. Perhaps they were worried about the Vox being combined with the Grace and allowing Mouse Sports to play really aggressive.
Absolutely, Lyra going to be locked in here for SK Gaming. That's going to be an excellent gap close for the Cruel on their side, but also a huge amount of sustain coming into these fights. And I'll see where SK are going to go when it comes down to the laner. Kestrel taken off as well as Vox, but things like the Baron are available. It's not something that we know Kvalifar specifically for as a comfort pick, but he's a very accomplished laner.
Yeah, very accomplished, very comfortable laner, can pick up pretty much anything. I think they would love to have a Kestrel right now if they hadn't banned it away at the first rotation, but it's the options for where they can go with this are pretty wide.
Yeah, I mean, what I would really like to see here would be a CP Sky lane. Something very untraditional, but it works really good against Rhyme, against Grace, and does well with Cruel. But instead, the CP Idris serves a similar purpose. You have your long range, you'll try to kite away the Rhyme, and you combine very well with Cruel because Cruel can protect you.
And it takes the pick away from Mouse Sports, who, again, I'm very confident they wanted this Idris pick to pair with the Grace. They saw the opportunity to grab the Rhyme, and they felt like they had to take it, even though because SK has played this Captain Krull. I think that was the only reason why Mouse Sports felt they had to take the Rhyme, just to make sure that they didn't go for that. And it's going to be a Catherine, so looking like most likely the carry Grace, which is something that Kvalifar tried to run numerous times in the past. Something I'm not a fan of at all. I'm very vocal against this one.
It has had decent amount of success, though, in the grand scheme of how many times it's been picked. It's actually won fairly well.
I mean, it can close the gap really easily onto Idris, especially past level 8. Once you overdrive your A ability, if you have a crit build, if you have a Tenshable build, you can do a lot of burst. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate for this pick right now. So they can perhaps make it work, especially with the Catherine being able to scale, but going into a Cruel, that's going to be tough.
This is going to be a weird composition coming through. With Rhyme as your only major DPS source, he's not the most consistent DPS you could have on your team. I'm curious, how do you feel this early game is going to be playing out? Who are the ones that have to be proactive here?
Well, the side of Mouse Sports has to be proactive because they're at risk of having this kind of snowball on them incredibly hard and falling behind and never really getting that tankiness that this team, I mean, all three of them are extremely durable, extremely tanky.
All right, we'll see how these battles are going to go, these skirmishes in this fight. It's time to get into game 2 of our finals. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Let us know who you're supporting. But once again, I'm going to pass it back over to Medic and Ex-Scoundrel and get into game number 2.
Thank you very much, Munch. We are into game 2 of the finals here in EU, and SK are fighting for their lives, fighting for that undefeated streak that they want to keep alive. And Scoundrel, this is Grace with weapon power. How do you see this playing out across the course of this game?
We've seen a little bit of weapon power Grace here and there. It's very much a shock. I always like to call it a shock and awe type of hero. You jump in with Benediction, you have Tension Bow, you hit really hard initially, and then you just look to try and land fairly impactful heroic perk hits. But otherwise, it's very much a burst-orientated style of play, which maybe works with Doom. You rush in and you're going to have War Treads here and thereabouts. Justman's going to go in.
There he is, looking to put some pressure on, but Hegman, Tyrus, and Kvalifar will be safe from it for the time being.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a War Treads, you know, sort of prioritization coming out from this type of game, and then you just rush them in, you look for maybe a Holy Nova, then you set up for I'm the Doom. I'm the Doom, if he lands any kind of route, it's going to facilitate Leon on this Weapon Power Grace, who is going to hit pretty hard when you get that Tension Bow up online and you get that Sorrow Blade up online too. I've seen numerous builds with Weapon Power Grace. One of my favorites is that Tension Bow double Tyrant's Monocle that I think is starting to make its way back into the meta now the Tension Bow buffs came through.
I have to see how effective it is as we get into the later portions of this game. I'm the Doom once again has his rhyme. Irakizo warned us off giving him that rhyme earlier on in the day, so we'll have to see if SK are able to deal with that as well, because it's a three-man gang squad in the lane at the moment, as Just Man forced back by the Bright Bulwark, and that is a strength, of course, of Lyra. One of the reasons we see her so commonly banned is both her sustain and her ability to disrupt enemy engagers.
Yeah, and Kavalafar's going for a CP Idris too, which we know it scales up well. I would really love to see a Dragon's Eye coming out from Kavalafar. I think it's very easy to stack. And the Doom also against a cruel matchup, which isn't the best for the Rhyme, really. Obviously, you can kind of attempt to outplay a Rhyme, but in general, people like to often pick Cruel into Rhyme because the weakness stacks A, limit his damage output, and B, obviously limit his ability to generate fortified health, because his fortified health is generated on the damage that he deals. So it's all in all a good pick into Rhyme in general, and you'll have to hopefully see Tyrus take advantage of that, because he has got specific strengths against Rhyme, which I think could be exploited.
SK will have superb knowledge of how to exploit those strengths, but Kavalafar is a little bit overextended here. Looking to get knocked up by the Holy Nova, the burst coming out from Mouz, and this will be the first blood for them as they catch Kavalafar out in the lane.
That's the combo we were talking about. The rush into the root, into the Holy Nova, then you have those big hitting hits from the Benediction and all the heroic perk from Leon, as well as obviously Rhyme doing the damage that he does. That's the combination that you want to see. And there isn't a huge amount apart from a Bright Bulwark to stop that from happening in fights. As soon as Kavalafar gets his ultimate, he will have a get out of jail free card for those kind of engages, and that might be what Kavalafar needs to survive here. As Leon, he's farming up. He's actually ahead in CS over Kavalafar somehow. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it's still looking to go towards what is actually not going to be a Tension Bow. He's actually picked up a heavy steel, so maybe go towards a Sorrow Blade first.
And just going for that pure weapon power rather than going for the actual extra burst. There's a stun once again onto Kavalafar, looking for the Holy Nova knockup, but can't quite connect with it. As the Imperial Sigil from Hegman will get that Idris out to safety, but still a gold lead for Mouz here early on, about 900 to 1,000 gold. There's a trade as I'm the Doom and Tyra's meet up against each other. Just Man running in, looking for the stun. The root comes out, and that will be a knockup on towards Tyra's, trying to get to the Imperial Sigil, but it's just a bit too far away, and Mouz get their second kill of the game.
SK feel a bit discordant right now. Mouz are very coordinated, they collapse as a unit, they combo their skills together so nicely. It just feels like decision making on SK's side of things feels a little crumpled, not quite what we're used to from the points leader in the European scene. Now obviously losing to Mouz here, it won't mean a huge amount for SK. Obviously they'd like to win the week to guarantee themselves the most point and give them the best cushion going into next few weeks to secure their place at Worlds. But regardless, it's great signs for Mouz as a unit. If they can get these advantages and beat SK in a series convincingly, this is looking like maybe the team coming into the next few seasons of the VG8 that could really dominate the European scene, Medic.
Yeah, you have to remember they're 1-0 up already. Leon has joined the team now, looking for that extra bit of star power that perhaps they needed to really buff themselves up as a team, and it's about development for Mouz at the moment. If they can show that they can challenge big boys after such a, or I say big boys, a big team in the form of SK after such a short period of preparation, imagine how much more they can do next week or the week after, whether they can be the new SKs of Europe, the new #1 seed that everyone actually has to try and contend with.
Also going to start to shove this lane in now. Constantly looking to pressure, constantly looking to combo. There's the Valkyrie.
On towards Hegman, the Bright Bulwark comes down as well, and actually Tyra's in the midst of this fray. I'm the Doom though there with the kill, looking for Kavalafar. Next up, Leon was the one to secure that for Mouz Sports. The stun on towards Hegman will force them away. And Kavalafar, even with the Dragon's Eye completed, really isn't able to do that much against this Mouz Sports lineup. They're looking for the turret as well, down to half. Might even get this. The Winter Spire doing a lot of work. A stun onto Kavalafar once again. He has to try and jump away because the Holy Nova was coming. And he does manage to escape before that knockup connects.
Interesting thing about Dragon's Eye, you actually need to get just one stack to be able to open up your heroic perk and start to use your ranged basic attack. So you just need to land a chakram or get a basic attack down, and then you actually start to get those ranged basic attacks opened up for you. So that's a really interesting thing. Obviously, Cavalifar will be able to pick up a crystal bit and alleviate that and have it on online at all times. But on just the Dragon's Eye, you need a single stack, and then you open up your heroic perk. However, SK are definitely under the thumb again because the first turret was prioritized there. They forced SK into an awkward rotation around the jungle, and then, like we saw, Mouz secured their first turret with a lot of damage coming out from Grace and a lot of damage coming out from I'm the Doom right now with that Shatterglass. And they are starting to accelerate this. They can, again, look for heavy engages with this team. A little bit similar to we saw last game, Medic. Always looking to engage, always looking for a fight.
Looking for that Crystal Sentry, the stun lands with the From Hell's Heart. The engage coming in from the rest of Mouz, though the stun on towards Tyrus. He has to use the Fountain to get out of that fight. And now SK on the back foot slightly, a 3,000 gold lead for Mouz, but I'm the Doom is pretty low on energy here. Does need to be a bit cautious as to how they take this next fight. I'm the Doom is actually going to go all the way back to base to regen up that energy and make sure that he is not lacking when this next fight erupts.
Leon's pushing the lane up here. Tyrus is desperate to force a fight, even though they are behind, trying to take advantage of the mid-game spike that Cruel has. No Fountain means that you can actually look for these executions. Oh my goodness, the damage from Leon onto Cruel right there. Unbelievable output. But Cavalifar is able to return with his own heavy-hitting basic attacks that scale up nicely with that Dragon's Eye.
Leon now has a Poison Shiv as well to try and reduce that healing coming out from the Lyra. So the more that he can get those connections there, the better it is for him, his team, and for Mouz in general. The gold miner from I'm the Doom will be secured in just a second. The engage from Just Man up towards the top side to try and force Cavalifar and Hegman to continue this fight. They know they're getting the objective. They know they're getting the gold lead, assuming they can secure this gold miner, which they do. I'm the Doom meets onto Tyrus as well, and the rest of Mouz are on their way. Leon jumps in, looking for that Holy Nova knockup. Can't quite connect as Tyrus now chucks out the From Hell's Heart, but does just about manage to get it onto I'm the Doom. Here comes the big fight as SK looks for the engage. Good blast tremor, but I'm the Doom still alive. The Valkyrie comes out as well, and Leon jumps straight onto that backline. Cavalifar running for his life. The Imperial Sigil just about keeps him alive. A great stun on towards Hegman, and the Root coming in as well. I'm the Doom chasing in with the Arcane Passage. Manages to take a 1-for-1 trade, and that will be the Crystal Sentry falling as well. Cavalifar dodging off to the side, but here comes the merciless pursuit from Just Man. He is not giving up this chase at all. Leon looking for the Retribution Shock. Cannot quite connect, but that shield from Just Man actually doing a lot of work. Mouz eventually able to get the delayed 3 kills. No ace for them, but a strong gold lead.
Yes. More than a strong gold lead, this is again another dominant looking game from Mouz. They've got SK's number in every way, shape or form. A really nicely timed silence from Just Man to begin that fight. Tyrus couldn't find the smite execute because he just was silenced and he got blown up. I'm the Doom with a defensive Valkyrie wasn't even needed because I think Leon's burst damage was almost more than necessary to finish the job. And then again, that rolling aggressive machine that we've seen from Mouz Sports continues as they push into the SK side of the jungle. Heavy engage coming out from the Benediction on Leon, and obviously you can see Null Wave going on Just Man means they really want to just focus in on winning these fights, shutting out Hegman as well.
Stun the Root, so much damage onto Tyrus. He's forced out already. Crystal Sentry has respawned and will join this fight, but I'm the Doom will be happy just to take that one straight away. Pretty sure this is the elimination kill. Actually, no, one more left. Only 10 minutes in. They've really shut down any hope that SK have of controlling that jungle. And with that turret falling, the Winter Spire's going in. There's the engage on towards the backline. The Holy Nova looking for the knockup from Leon, but the dodges from Tyrus and SK are pretty darn strong. Here comes the Valkyrie as well. They've managed to get the first kill. Just Man and I'm the Doom trying to do what they can, but Tyrus chasing in. That's 2 kills for SK as they hold on to hope in this game.
Overextension you feel from Mouz Sports, but still in a commanding position. One more Crystal Sentry life to deal with. Tyra's, only on a breaking point right now. He's a whole item behind I'm the Doom, who has actually already finished his journey boots. Already gone for tier 3 mobility, knowing that he needs that to catch up to Cavalifar. Leon's working towards a breaking point, which would be a pretty massive item spike for him. But SK are not resting on their laurels. They're trying to utilize this and go for the gold miner, but they're not taking it quick enough, and Mouz are here to respond.
You still have the Spectral Smite, but SK just give it up. Give up the Ghost on that chase. Let's have a quick look across the rest of the items here. Scoundrel, you've got Shatterglass Eve finished on towards I'm the Doom alongside those Journey Boots. You've got 3 weapon power items already on Leon. He's looking mighty, mighty strong. On the other side of the house he unfold, Cavalifar has the Alternating Current and the Dragon's Eye, but so far behind in terms of pure gold that he's not even towards that 3rd item yet. Tyrus with a Breaking Point and an Aegis, and Hegman sitting on the Crucible and the Fountain, but not really in a strong position to fight up against Mousesports yet.
Absolutely not. I think Cavalifar, the out for SK now is Cavalifar getting to late game. I think Broken Myth likely going to be an item of choice for him next. And then maybe Eve of Harvest. So looking for a 4-item build of Dragon's Eye, Alternating Current, Eve of Harvest. I think that's a pretty solid item build. It's almost like a direct replacement for the old Seeking Interest build. It is stacking and you work off the Pierce, and it works in a very similar fashion. Your basic attacks actually hit really hard on this specific build. So we'll have to see how that works out for him. To get there first though, so he's still a whole 1.5 tier items, or 1.5 tier 3 items away from that. Just accelerating his build, getting gold as he can. He's pretty close to finishing his next one. Probably needs about 1,000 gold in the bank, and then we'll see how SK do in these teamfight situations.
And Mouse playing around the gold miner for the time being. You still have, of course, that chunk onto the turret in the lane. Can try and force that if they wish. I'd like to see them being a little bit more proactive with this lead, because the further you get into the game, the less the gold lead means. The closer you get to completed builds on either side. They need to clear out that scout trap on the gold mine, then try and go for it themselves. I'm not even sure they know the scout trap's there. They're just going to start up this gold mine, and SK will have knowledge of this. It's going down incredibly quickly. Of course, 2 I'm the Doom and Leon, and here comes Hegman from the side. The Valkyrie not quite going to connect off towards the side, hasn't actually been used there. It was the Blast Tremor instead. Cavalifar jumped on Hegman. Arcane Passages into the midst of the team. Tyrus gets off towards the other side with the From Hell's Heart trying to get onto Leon, but there comes the Valkyrie down straight onto the face of Cavalifar, and eventually he will fall. It's going to be an ace, you have to feel. Here, SK managed to get 1 in response, but Mouse get the ace. We'll take the Crystal Sentry, and you have to expect we'll take the gold mine off the back of this as well.
Really, really nice. A Valkyrie from I'm the Doom, because Cavalifar was starting to output some serious damage in that fight as he stacked up on the Dragon's Eye. But Doom follows up on Leon, gets the Valkyrie, and obviously then stuns up Cavalifar. My dog is going crazy. I hope you can't hear that in the background. Sorry, that's why I was getting distracted. My dog is going a little bit mental.
But that's okay. That's okay. Good fight there.
Double
of course,
kill,
for Mousesports. They are now 7,000 gold ahead. You've got an Echo finished on towards Just Man with the Null Wave Gauntlet, just trying to shut down any possibility that SK fight back. And Cavalifar has finished the Broken Myth, so he is sitting on those 3 completed items. It's very much up to him to try and carry these team fights for SK, but it looks like Mouse might be on the brink of upsetting the champions. The Mortal Wounds on towards Hegman as he dodges around. Leon with the knockup onto Tyrus, the engage onto Cavalifar in that backline. The Fountain used. Leon there. Mouse fighting for their lives, trying to take this win off SK, trying to take that champion's belt off SK. The kill will go down. I'm the Doom secures 1, and now it's Tyrus and Hegman trying to fight off against 3 members of Mouse, but already Hegman's dead. It's a double for I'm the Doom, and you just can't give this man rhyme because he will roll all over your team. The chase down onto Tyrus. He'll get stun locked. He'll get taken down. It's an ace for Mouse, and they can look to start closing out this game.
Unbelievable performance. Doom, like you said, on this rhyme is just a monster. He's got Atlas Pauldrons to shut down the Cruel because Just Man has gone so aggressive in his build. Cavalifar played that fight, I think, really well. His ultimate choice location, he dodged 2 silences coming out from Just Man. He was in a position to kite backwards, but they managed to collapse on him. And like you said, the priority on mobility from I'm the Doom means that he was able to catch up and deal some significant damage. Heavy burst damage coming out from Mouse as well. And once Cavalifar dies in these fights, it's pretty much game over for SK. You haven't got Tyrus spiking enough at this point. He's literally just sitting on a breaking point, an Aegis, and some defense. Not enough to carry a game with, and he just isn't able to capitalize off this mid game. And you can see here, once Cavalifar dies, SK should go down.
Gage goes in once again, the Null Wave on towards Cavalifar, trying to lock him out, but a good from Hell's Heart will keep him alive for the time being. Shimmer strikes down, the attack slow from the Atlas. I'm the Doom just continuing to chase down. Cavalifar's like, please let me kite, but he just can't do enough. A good knock up there at the end, as well as Tyrus has been rooted to the spot. Leon with the chase down, it's a double for him. Looking for a little bit more as Hegman runs down towards the bottom side, but this might even just be the game for Mouse. Just Man is going to the chase off his fellow roamer, but Mouz are looking for the turrets. They're looking for the Vayne. They are looking for the win, and they're looking for the 2-0 over SK.
I think they will be hard-pressed. I mean, look, they could win it. They're going to split their focus, actually, on my word. They might actually be just going straight up for the win here while distracting Lyra.
Well, that will be the two turrets falling at basically exactly the same time. It's now up to Tyrus and Cavalifar to try and stop this, but Weapon Power Grace might just be a little bit too strong. The Winter Spire's coming in. Leon looking for the crystal, and that will be the win, and that will be the week for Mousesports 2-0 up over SK.
Wow, what an ending. And that is something that I've always praised on a team with Leon. He knows exactly his limits when it comes to ending the game. Mousesports, they didn't even make that look close. They swept SK to the side. You cannot give I'm the Doom Rhyme. Forget CP Kestrel. This guy is now a Rhyme god. Well, congratulations, Mousesports. That subbing of Leon and Tricky moving out and Leon getting onto a team, well, he certainly found a team that he can win with. Mousesports are our week's winners.
That they are. Great performance by them, and Weapon Power Grace with another victory here in the European Vainglory. We're going to hand it over to our analyst and the host, Munch, of course, to break down just how good Weapon Power Grace was there.
Weapon Power Grace turns out is the best pick in Vainglory right now. Maybe. Well, it definitely worked out for Leon on this one. My name is Munch, I'm going to be hosting, but we are going to get into what just happened because Mouz have a 2-0 victory over SK Gaming, who have looked flawless for the rest of the season so far, but Mouz giving them a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, Mouz looked really strong in this one, and a lot of it was Mouz being so aggressive and so forceful with their plays, and SK just not really responding to it. SK just sort of stood back and let them engage time and time again. And, I mean, constantly there was Rhyme in the face of a Crystal Idris. That shouldn't happen. There's no situation in which that should happen. When you have a Krull and a Lyra on your team, Rhyme should not be allowed to be in the face of your Idris.
I mean, you don't really have too many options to push him away. The best thing you can do is stack your weakness stacks on him. The thing is, you said they didn't respond to it, and they didn't respond to it mainly in draft. They had many different opportunities where they could have banned or taken away the Rhyme, but they end up giving the Doom Rhyme twice in the series, and this player is really showing up on this pick. No matter what, he's been able to find advantages and get leads. At 3 minutes, he went up, got a kill off a gank, then rotated down and stole a treant all in one rotation. The Doom is doing incredibly on Rhyme.
He certainly is. Let's take a look at our first replay. It's just beyond the 12-minute mark where we saw Mouz really starting to get control of everything. This was after a few skirmishes had already happened, and this is when SK really started to lose control.
Yeah, this was, again, some confusing decisions. Hegman, not sure why he portals in there with less than half health. It just doesn't really have much of an effect on the Lyra in that situation. They did a really good job of staying alive for a long time, but again, Cavalifar is in the thick of things. He's in melee range with a Weapon Grace and a Rhyme. That's not where you want to be. Obviously, the Krull isn't going to be able to provide much peeling for you there either, but it's just there were mistakes made by SK, but Mouz capitalized on all of them.
Once again, this is what we were saying earlier. This is not the SK that we know so well. We're not used to seeing SK make these communication errors, and like that portal, for example. I don't think Tyra's wanted to leave the fight just there and go all the way around.
No, I didn't expect the portal. The portal was actually good in my opinion because he ended up being able to put his bulwark right in front of Idris, allowing him to kite and continue dealing damage without getting jumped on. But Cruel definitely wasn't expecting the portal, and he ended up being teleported away from his team. Not a great sign for that team fight, and made them lose it.
Yeah, and then just about a minute after that fight had happened, we saw another team fight coming through. Very similar results that ended up leading to a whole bunch of turrets for Mouz.
Yeah, this one, again, started off a little bit better, but now you've got, again, Rhyme in melee range with Cavalifar. Cavalifar gets himself out of there, but this entire time you have just a Krull on the Grace. She's just going to throw an ult on herself and be able to heal up through it. Normally, if Grace has to ult herself, you could just burn her down before the heal comes through. But when it's just a Krull with only the Broken Myth for his damage, he wasn't able to really have that much of an impact. And this goes all the way back to a long time ago when I used to say, I hate the breaking point first item and only offensive item on a Krull. You saw that fight lasted a long, long time. He had 9 stacks on the breaking point. That's no damage coming out of this Krull whatsoever. He wasn't a threat.
No, and because he wasn't able to stick to the Grace. And that's why Grace was actually a smart pick. Because generally, when you go up against a Cruel comp with a backline hyper carry such as Idris, you're going to see teams forced to focus the Cruel, and so the CP Idris or the Celeste on the backline being able to just freely deal damage. But with the Grace, you're able to constantly follow up on that carry with your Rhyme and force the enemy team to actually come back to you, and you just ignore Cruel completely. The Grace did work for them.
Yeah, and honestly, the burst damage that Grace offers is always